Hi, welcome back to my channel. Like always, thank you so much for all your support, all your love and comments. I truly appreciate it. So this video is actually a continuation of the video that I had done previously on PER. Right, so if you've not already watched that video, can I urge you to have a look at that video so that you have a continuity on how do you go about recording the PER, because it's important to understand what is PER and then coming to how do you go about recording it. So I would urge you to please have a look at that one and then come and watch this video. So like we discussed already, that the PER is split into two. There is a 36 months of work experience that you need, and then you need 9 objectives to be met, of which 5 are essential and 4 are technical, right? So let's talk about how do you record these objectives. So unfortunately, I will not be able to do all 9 of them because it's going to take forever, but I'm going to try and cover maybe a couple of them as an example for you, and then hopefully you will be able to write them. And if you can't, you can always come back to me for any help you need, right? So I have the PER screen in front of me, and I've got the ethics and professionalism, which is the first essential objective that you need. Now, if you look at the description, right, the description talks about, how an individual needs to, or what individual needs to exhibit to say that they have met this objective. So there are these 5 elements, right, which you should be able to relate to. If you're able to relate to, if you think that you are already doing these things, that means you have met the first objective on the of the ethics and professionalism, right? So let me quickly read through it. Okay, so the first one is act diligently and honestly, following codes of conduct, taking into account and keeping up to date with legislation. Now, if you are working in an organization, let's say you are an accounts professional, right, and you are into bookkeeping. Now, as a person who's into accounts, you are constantly working with a lot of compliances, a lot of regulations that you need to be aware of, even if it is IFRS set of standards, right? So if you are someone who has to make sure that you're constantly updated with things, like for example, there could be a new tax rate, or there could be a new rule or law around how do you account things. If you are doing that, that means you have been able to meet this objective, right? Then next one, act with integrity, objectivity, professional competence and due care and confidentiality. Again, this is something which is very common. If you are working in an organization, you will be able to write plenty of things around why do you feel that you have worked with integrity. Let's say you came across a transaction which was, it seemed like a fraud, it seemed like something which was not done correctly, or you realized that you recorded a transaction and actually that was wrong, and you went back to your manager and said that, look, I had done a mistake. That is all integrity and honesty. So you've met your objective there. Then develop a commitment to your personal professional knowledge development. Should be a lifelong learner and continuous improver, seeking feedback, reflecting on your contribution skills. Talk about any refreshers that you've done, talk about any trainings you've attended, and how it is helping you. There you go, you've met another objective there. Then identify, extract, interrogate, evaluate complex data to make reliable, informed decisions. Now, most of us today work with plenty of data, right? It could be, let's say, if you're accounts receivable officer, you are working with plenty of customers, and you put them together, make an aging report, figure out what is the DSO, etc., etc. So you are already doing these things. It's just that sometimes we don't realize that this is what your objective is looking for, right? And the last one, interrogate, critically analyze and assess data and other information with professional skepticism, should challenge opinion and facts through corroboration and robust testing. Again, if you are already in the field of, or in the job of putting together data, putting together reports, sending it to, let's say, your stakeholders, sometimes the stakeholders may come up with, that they may say that, we will pay you next month or next week or whatever, right? Are you using your skepticism and going back and say that, look, I need some kind of an assurance. How can you promise, or can you promise us in any way that this payment is going to come through? Sometimes even simplest of things like these, will be able to help you meet your objectives, right? So how are we going to write it? You take all of these elements, copy paste them in the statement section, and make sure that for each of these 5 things you have been able to share an example of how you think that you have met these, right? So be it, like I said, integrity, if you can talk about an example where you showed honesty, you met that. Talking about innovation, if you talk, or continuous learning, if you talk about the refresher training, if you talk about appraisals, lifelong learning, etc., you've met that, right? If you are part of putting a data together or report together, you met that. So as long as you have these 5 things in front of you, just make sure that you've answered all of them with an example, and then of course you can delete those questions out. The reason why I ask you to put them in is so that you don't forget these elements, because all 5 elements need to be met for your objective to be approved and shown as achieved, right? So once you have taken care of all these 5 elements, you will be able to say that yes, your ethics and professionalism objective has been met. And this is exactly how you will do it for all the other bits in there. So let me take you to one of the technical objectives. How about I take you to corporate and business reporting, right? And it's opening up. All right, so here you've got another set of 5 elements. The first one says implement or operate systems to record and process accounting data using emerging technology where appropriate. Now, we all are using some form of software. We could be on Tally, we could be on SAP, we could be on Oracle. As long as you're using that, right, that's it. You met this one, okay? Then gather information for end of period accounting entries, prepare estimates for adjustments to intercompany accounts. Now, one may think that I have to make sure that I am providing intercompany adjustments, but it does not have to be always an intercompany adjustment. It could be just some adjustments that you've asked for it to be done, or you realize what these adjustments need to be done. For example, you were asked to provide for bad debts at 5%, and at the end of the year you realize that it may be 7.5% or whatever. Using all the existing data and using all the information that you have, you are revising that entry, you are revising your provisions. There you go, you met that. Then verify input process routine financial accounting data within the system using emerging technology, which is very similar to the first one, just that one had implementation, and not necessarily everyone will implement the softwares, right? It could be even a very simplistic reports that are there. Let's say you started using Excel reports, right, to keep a track of receivables or payables, etc. Even that will work in these areas, right? So if you are putting data in the system, you will be able to meet the third element. The fourth one is prepare and review reconciliation and other accounting controls. Now, reconciliations, guys, if you are in the accounting world, is the most common thing. You will have bank recos, you will have AR recos, you have AP recos, you've got your general ledger recos. There are plenty of recos that you do, right? Irrespective of where you're working in MNC, you're working in a smaller practice, recos is bread and butter for us, guys, right? So make sure that you are able to write something around that, and make sure you're using standards and policies when you're processing. Of course, right? You have to talk about that you are using the IFRS or Ind AS standards to make sure that you're recording the entries. Now, coming to how do you record it? Again, take all these 5, go into your statement section and start answering each one of them, right? Always explain, always give the examples of how you feel that you met these objectives, right? Because that is the only way. If this goes into a review, they will know that yes, this guy has actually gotten the work experience which has all of these activities. Because again, please remember, the 36 months is different to the objectives. It is quite possible that you worked in one place for a whole year and you're not able to meet any of the objectives, and it is absolutely fine, right? You can meet all of these objectives in the second year. You can meet all of these in the third year. You can spread it out over the 3 years. It's absolutely up to you and the nature of work you're doing. So don't ever get bogged down what's happening to my technical objectives. I'm only doing the employment of 36 months, right? It's absolutely okay, right? But of course, I would usually suggest, if you're working, figure out what are these things that you're doing, try and link them up so that you are, as you progress towards the 36 months of the PER requirement, you are meeting these objectives as well, right? So I hope you have been able to get a gist of how do you go about recording these. Please do not get too bogged down or stressed. These are not things that you should be stressing about. If you're doing ACCA, these should be your least of the worries, right? So I hope you found this video helpful, and if you have, can I request you to share it with your friends and family so that they can benefit from this. And if you need anything else, feel free to leave your suggestions in the comment, and I will try my best to come back. On that note, all the very best, and thank you so much.